Hello, people joining. Nicholas, back from holiday. And hello, Chris. Nina, pleased to meet you. Very pleased to meet you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit soft, I think.
One sec, because
Oh, this is starting to sound better.
okay, now
A little, yeah, now I do.
okay.
Yeah. Hey, Dennis, John.
Good morning, good afternoon.
John, who's finally getting some good night's sleep. Would you recommend others to write a book, John?
I don't think I say that, and I'm sure I'll do it again. I like a challenge, but I found it far more challenging than I thought it would be.
Because you have so many other things to do, and
Also, I made the mistake of not just writing a book, but creating a whole reference implementation of things. And so it isn't just about the book making sense, but making sure that all the associated code works. And that's kind of, especially, when you look at things like all these papers, they have repositories around, even, with the adversarial robustness toolbox, some of the things just don't work because the libraries have been updated, because the world moved on from CUDAs and NVIDIA drivers, and it's just going to be, it's been an interesting journey.
how are you feeling now? Relieved?
I still have 2 months to go.
Yeah, that's what you keep saying.
So yeah, and it's kind of it's been great. And I think the other area where kind of maybe we'll cover it via the updates is I want to talk to the group is the NIST Safety Institute, where things got a little bit convoluted and we need to reboot there. But more than that on the conversation.
Okay, so you have an update on that?
Yes.
Well, we can continue to chat a little bit while people are coming in.
Yeah, sorry. I thought you started kind of but yeah, it's kind of I thought I will enjoy it far more than I did, and interesting lesson.
Wow. Aranish is traveling again. This man is traveling all the time, I believe, and joining our call. So that's discipline. Thank you very much for that. Hello, Dan. Hello, Benas.
Hello, everyone.
Good morning, good morning.
Hello, Rubens. Rubens,
Hello.
I noticed that you have quite a large following on LinkedIn. What's your secret?
Oh, it's like 5 years ago when I entered the machine learning, I used to teach a lot of people. As I was learning a lot of things, I was sharing what I was learning. Then I had like 18,000, but then it's too demanding, and then I stopped it.
Well,
Yeah.
it certainly worked.
Yes.
Well done.
It's share content, right? So that people can learn also. They like a lot.
Yeah. This is also what I noticed when I share something that's sort of a new insight and makes complex things simple, like we're doing with the AI Exchange.
Exactly.
Some cheat sheet or a diagram. People also
Exactly.
love to share it. That's
They like a lot visuals, like a PowerPoint page with concepts that you explain. This works a lot. But then if the topic is too advanced, then you are just reaching a fraction of those people. So you have to make it very simple, visual, and with clear explanations. Then it makes it easy to get followers.
Yes, I understand. So I think we can get started slowly. People are joining. Suzanne, Peter, hello. Two people who are absolutely new to this group right now. It's Chris, who we have announced in the previous call. Thank you for joining, Chris. We are onboarding Chris slowly. So slow that this is the first time Chris and I are ever in a call, but I know that Sandy is working with you, Chris, to onboard you, to show you around, and I'm looking forward to working closely with you because we have quite a cool show going on, and yeah, need all the help we can get. So maybe briefly touching upon your role later on the agenda, unless you have a hard stop earlier than within an hour, Chris.
No, I'm perfectly fine. It's great to see everyone.
Great. Nina's also a new face. Welcome, Nina. Yeah, we introduced you in the Slack channel. We're getting started with you to see where you can contribute the most. Yeah, just sit back and relax, and we'll go through the motion, basically looking back on the previous 2 weeks and look forward, because that's what we do in these calls. I do need to share that these calls are recorded and will be shared publicly, starting in 4 seconds. So if you want to go away or perhaps close your camera, that's perfectly fine, of course. But do know that it's not a good idea probably to share confidential information.
Yeah.
The recording. So our 7th meeting, April 18th, 2024, the AI Exchange. What do we want to do today? Arunish has 2 updates regarding the step-by-step guide and the RSA presentation that's coming up in May. Susanna has added some updates. I was wondering if there's any of you who want to put something on the agenda for today. So opening the floor for any suggestions, other than the work items that we'll discuss anyhow belonging to you. All right, I hear none. I have a discussion point to bring up.
Sorry, it's Eugene.
Eugene,
I
no.
promised to create the structure or taxonomy of the attacks of AI, and I can share it today. But maybe it's not finished yet, but also I can share it and show up the idea.
That would be great. Oh, I'll do my best to see if we can make time for this sometime anyhow. But when you say taxonomy, I'm thinking of something that requires some time to view and discuss. But let's get started on it today after Susanna's updates. Any other points to add? All right. I've added a point to discuss when are controls sufficient, auditability. This is a very current discussion around the AI Act right now. I'll get into it once we get to the point in the agenda. Some updates from my side, some attention points that I'd like to repeat for us to go through, basically code of conduct. If there's time left to talk about any work items and assigning them, and any other business, if any. So, Arunish, are you able to speak right now?
Yes, I'll just keep my video off if that's okay.
Sure, sure. I'm at the step-by-step guide slide right now.
Sure. I can see the slide and the screen itself. So we started off on this particular endeavor with all the work that Marco had done, and we continue to work on this one. So a couple of things that we are doing as part of this subgroup itself is, one aspect is we are doing like a sprint, agile sprint-based methodology, and providing updates and deliverables every 2 to 3 weeks. For this particular sprint, we purposely kept like 3 weeks, but going forward, it's all going to be like every 2 weeks, we will have like a work item that would be getting delivered. So as part of this particular sprint, what we are focusing on is definition for the purpose of how this guide is going to be used within an organization. What is the purpose for this particular guide? Getting a tabular form of all the regulation that applies across the regions and also at different industry levels, right? Some of the industry going to be regulations which are already in place, but AI is an additional aspect. So, and also there is another aspect, I'm not sure if Ramesh is on the call. There's another thing that we are focusing on is on the use cases stuff. And So we intend to actually finish up all these particular things by end of next week. And after that, it's going to be open for review across the board. So I would highly suggest that everybody on the call and the wider group should actually review those particular things and provide some comments and feedback. And again, these are our understanding, but it doesn't mean like we're going to be absolute 100% correct all the time, or we would not be missing out stuff, right? So that's one aspect of what we're focusing on. The other aspect that we spoke about for the coordination and communication, we are kind of experimenting both with WhatsApp as well as Slack to ensure that the communication within the subgroup is sort of in real time. So that's another aspect that's there. And we'll have more updates on both of these topics at the next conversation, which is going to be in 2 weeks.
Cool. Thank you.
And I believe.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, then I'll jump in. To give people some background who are not familiar with the step-by-step guide plan, Aranis is leading this. Some of the things that we change require a group to work on with its own pace, with its own meetings, with its own Slack channel, and deliverables that later can be integrated into the end result. Aranis is leading this. I mean, it's great to see how this is moving on. Thanks a lot. The purpose of the step-by-step guide is to give people actionable steps apart from what the AI Exchange currently offers, which is an whole overview of things that you should and could do. But where do you start? Do you start with an inventory of AI, or do you start with studying AI, or do you start with an awareness training as an organization? How do you do this step by step? And currently, the AI Exchange sort of suggests how you can do this, but it's much needed to make this more explicit and actionable. And that's what Aranis and team are working on. You also wanted to share about RSA, right?
That's a quick update. And again, there is a specific reason why I want to share that update.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I started on the presentation. I had like a small hiccup because I was presenting my first university lecture. So otherwise, this should have been finished by now. But so on a high level, I think the presentation is coming along well. I should be able to actually share it with the group by this particular Wednesday, the coming Wednesday. To get feedback and anything else that needs to be done. And the second aspect I also going to do is having one-on-one conversation with folks that I think are like key who have contributed like so far, just to get an understanding of what needs to be presented, how it needs to be presented, and what question that we can expect at RSA. So another thing that I'm also looking to do is like create like a FAQ section, which will definitely be used for the RSA, but even in the longer term, like what are the typical questions that you would possibly expect out at these large forums? Like what is the audience really expecting? So I'm going to actually ask folks to look at the FAQ, and if there is a question that comes to their mind. I think there are three aspects: high-level plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just doing a summary. High-level plan presentation should be ready by Wednesday for the first draft. My expectation is by next Friday, I should have locked down the presentation. One-on-one conversation is going to be key, and also putting together FAQ for RSA.
Beautiful. Thank you. How much time will you get to present, do you think?
I think it's 45 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. I think
really?
It's from 10:30 till 11:15.
Yeah, so
I think there are 5 tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are 5 tracks, and it's a half-day event starting at, I think, at 8 in the morning till 1 p.m. So I think the time slot that we have for exchange is 45 minutes.
Super. All right, looking forward to your slides. Happy to collaborate with you, and I would like indeed to invite everybody to to work along. That's your update, right, Anish?
Yeah, that's true.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot. My discussion point for today is I'd like you to think about the following. When are controls sufficient? Most current work, including our work, enumerates controls. You can do this, you can do that. You can add noise to the training data, make models smaller, and you can also detect input patterns. But when is it good enough? If we want to create harmonized standards for the AI Act, which is what we're working on, you need something else. You need ways to answer when is it good enough. So you need to be able to specify tests and set boundaries and let them depend on the risk in order to be able to do conformity assessment. Currently, this is a big puzzle, and in Sentinelic, we're working on this, but we don't have the solution yet. And I think we need to prioritize this and add this to our list of to-dos on the plans for the next version, because it is such a big theme right now in standardization. And I think with our access to expertise and ideas, we can make a difference here. So I was wondering if there were any first responses to this or current work that you know that is super relevant for this matter.
Rob.
Yeah.
Yes. I read that when you have like big models, you can easily overfit data.
Yes.
And then if you contaminate like 0.001 of data, like in a fine tuning, you can alter the behavior of these big models. So if you have like smaller models that generalize better, this makes more difficult to infect these models to behave like problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is an example of trying to specify when is it sufficient. And I think this, when it comes to evasion attacks and to data poisoning, you need to specify some tests, some benchmarks, and see whether a model either qualifies or not. Looking at Suzanne, you have a remark or input?
Yeah, maybe this is totally stupid, and I'm always kind of on this, but my thoughts immediately go back to the engineering failure modes and effects analysis, because it seems like, we have a great deal of difficulty affecting standards that can apply across such a wide variety of use cases. And by use cases, I mean, types of models and applications and so forth. But I'm always wanting to see an failure modes and effects analysis operationalized in model development. Is it totally a dumb idea to start thinking around ways to set standards for the initial development? Because if we have an FMEA, if we have, say, red teaming and that sort of thing for an individual model, we already have a baseline idea of, what might go wrong, what might happen if it goes wrong, and so forth, if the FMEA is done correctly, and if the recommendations are operationalized. So is there a way, or am I totally off base, to start thinking around how do we go back to the initial planning stages and development before we put these things into production and operationalize safety there?
I don't have the answer to that. I mean, I suspect that it might be a good idea to think of it this way. I'm looking at Peter, who is in security testing of AI systems. What would be your response?
I was going to mirror the same thing. So I think even good enough is a loaded term in terms of any type of software. It depends on the functional and non-functional specification requirements of the solution. So as you know, Rob, I keep talking about this aligning to current practices of engineering or software engineering, if you want to do, is absolutely key. It's a point to reinvent some stuff, because if it aligns to software, it makes it much easier. It becomes of how to do it as opposed to what should be done. I think following up on that, I probably want to give a researcher view on this problem and then what I hear from customers. So from Mauritius' point of view, there is even debates about the controls working for the same technique. People keep going backwards and forwards. I won't name which communities, but there's two labs that keep going back and forth about this problem. So it is difficult to ascertain which controls are going to be effective, because if you look at the literature in this space, a lot of the controls are either conjecture from ideas that might work, but they haven't tested them. They come from a university laboratory. So in that one scenario, for that one model, in that one instance, it seemed to work. There's generalizability. It has been mentioned as a possible solution based off the expertise of the writer, or is actually being done but not evidenced, or it has been done and has been evidenced. So you have 5 or 6 different spectrums. So I think it'll be really helpful to help go towards control being sufficient is actually map when the data source or whatever controls you have, where is the source of that information? I think that's really, really key to actually understand what is the efficacy of the controls and where is it being derived from. I suspect eventually they'll all be very well constrained. There'll be CVEs, there'll be really good like code bases, but right now it's kind of a big mixture. So that's kind of the research science view in terms of to inform, the OWASP AI Exchange to be much more feature fleshed in terms of help people point towards where the gaps are. I think what we should also do, this comes from customers. I get a lot of questions about, is this control going to impact the performance of my AI? That happens a lot. And the trick is, some don't, some do. So I think a bit of a nuanced case, if we wanted to flag which controls are modifying the model and which ones are not modifying the model, I think that'd be really helpful for just guiding people to actually decide what to do, because people will know in this call, stuff that modifies the model, super helpful, like quantization, distillation, that impacts other things, but other things that surround the application of model maybe have other impacts, but that might really help guide people to actually make good controls and what the impact is.
Interesting. That's helpful. Thank you. Rubens?
Yes. No, but as Peter was talking, it looks like there is a trade-off between accuracy and security, right? Because when you have like an overfitted model, you have a more vulnerable model, but when you try to generalize, you're going to decrease the performance. I mean, you are going to lose accuracy for the sake of more security. I think this is directly related to what Peter said.
Yeah, it's something that we should discuss indeed. And I think you also mentioned it, Rubens, in one of your contributions. Thank you. John, maybe as a final point on this point on the agenda.
I'd like to challenge that a little bit. And kind of, I think we often talk about security controls in very generic terms, as if it's something that applies to everything. And I agree with Peter there, in my conversations with customers, the question is always, what's the risk that you're trying to address? Perhaps some of the things that we're talking about, poisoning, can be addressed with security controls that don't necessarily affect the model. I think us understanding and guiding people to do the threat modeling and understand this is the risk. And don't forget, people will have different risk appetites and different data classifications. So how we apply that control, it will not always be uniform. And I know that doesn't help having a prescriptive discussion, but I think giving a methodology and kind of examples of evaluating the controls might be better than just kind of say and apply this.
Yeah, I predict we definitely need that. Eugenia?
Hi. I was going to say something which is close to what was just said. So it's very difficult to have standards in the sense of generic statements or numbers, thresholds. But one thing, because every case is different, right? And every type of problem is different. So you don't even know the target. I mean, it's the type of the problem, the type of the data, the way the specific business works, and then the strategy of the business. We may change the targets, etc. So at least to the extent that security refers to problems that do not occur just because, only due to malicious intent, but also problems that have to do with changes, real changes in the data that actually happened in the real world, and there was no distortion, based on an attack.
Mhm.
There could be perhaps a periodic table, kind of, I can't think of a better term, of use cases, like some standard scenarios for per industry. So, for example, when you have a bank, you know that some scenarios would definitely have to do with whether you're using this bank as a primary bank, your primary bank, if you will get a loan in the next, I don't know, 2 years, stuff like that. If you're going to invest in certain ways with certain type of assets. So a lot of them are like binary problems, not all of them. So typical binary classification. So if we could have like a set of tests per such use case per industry that kind of usually apply well and give you insights for that type of data and that type of use case and what may be perceived as the usual business rules around it. It could be a start. Whether you could actually put numbers, I'm not sure. Maybe in some cases you could use some thresholds, and then it would be a matter of organizations, like OWASP or similar bodies, kind of accumulating all these in a common knowledge base. But again, that would be up to an extent, right? Because
Yeah.
most people I've talked to clients, especially the ones that didn't have an extensive data science background, but perhaps they were engineers and quite experienced or good. They were kind of losing themselves in all the, they were Googling, and now with ChatGPT even worse. And they were getting all these suggestions, like you can use that test or try to do that thing, but a ton of buts with its test or control. And at the end of the day, they had no idea, like, where do I start? Because everything has the plus and the minus associated with it. So
Yeah.
that would be a guide in terms of how to start.
Yes, this guidance, this method is something that we need to work towards. It doesn't exist yet, and it's much needed for standardization, but not just for standardization, also for organizations to draw the line where they should at some point stop creating all the controls, and also how to prioritize controls. I'd like to put together a team to work on this. So can I see hands of people who are interested and think they can contribute to this conformity assessment topic? So I'm noting down Dan.
Yeah, and I just wanted to have one
Yeah.
last comment. Oftentimes I don't really speak up a lot, but so I kind of come back from the cyber defense and cyber offense background within the government in the US here. So the way you look at things strategically, just kind of summarize what I heard from everyone, is you need to know the adversary's intent and capabilities. So in short, when are controls sufficient is just like a science experiment. When you have all the controls that you've already gone through, when you already know the environment, when you know the threat, but in your typical AI ever-changing environment, you often don't. The variables are always changing. So just kind of as a summary, just kind of like from my perspective, when you know both the intent and capabilities, when it's well-defined, when it's predictable, controls can be sufficient. But oftentimes we don't know the risk, the vulnerability, the threat, the person, the environment, the technology. So I think in most of those cases, and that's where AI often changes things up, or even in like quantum security, we're looking at how is it you can pull from multiple aspects at different times. that every case can be different. So sorry, just wanted to give that little input, but
No, it's great.
yeah, I could definitely help
You're
there
also
too.
raising your hand, Dan, because you would like to join this effort.
Sure, go ahead.
Great. I'm seeing hands from Susanna and from Rubens. You guys want to join, or do you have additional points to discuss? Because we do have to take a little bit of into account the time that we have.
Oh, I just want to join.
Join?
Yeah,
You noted?
yeah, me too, Rob.
Great. All right. Now we have a good team. I think we need to take into account that we can consult, of course, the whole group with this problem, but to have a small team working on that's excellent. Peter.
I can help out as well, but I think my contribution is collecting some data to help inform the discussions.
Beautiful. All right. I'll set up a channel for you guys. Let's go to Eugene, your taxonomy. Take us along.
Yeah, guys, thank you. Rob, I agree with you regarding the time which required to, in reality, to discuss the taxonomy. Thus, I will say some words about the suggestions, and then I will share the current state of the taxonomy, which we are planning to suggest. And after this, we will discuss it in another time. Okay. We suggest currently to separate the possible threats and definitions in 3 levels: data level, model level, and hardware level. Also, we have in mind another levels. It will be maybe 6 or 7 levels. Then we separated the pipeline, ML pipeline, into several stages, and also represented them here. We analyzed NIST framework and Microsoft document about the taxonomy, and Ericsson, and some another scientific papers. Here we are trying to provide some definitions for each term and for each threat. But as you see, we didn't have enough time for provide for each threat, and we are planning to do it in the near future. And after this, we want to formalize each threat and each definition in mathematical terms, if it will be possible. That's it. And yeah, I will share this in our channel.
And you're working on this with?
With my PhD students.
Ah.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, guys, I want to involve who wants to help me with it also.
well, part of what you're doing is already, as you know, in the AI Exchange, you know, the threats and the controls.
Yeah, I analyzed suggested structure, which now we used in Exchange. But as for me, it will be nice to make some changes. Maybe I'm not correct, and I think it will be nice to discuss it.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly fine and great, because we're in a phase where we're doing all kinds of sanity checks and gap analysis with other work. Because we now have the opportunity to, make some changes in the structure. So we're quite open to that. I think this deserves a deep dive with you. So I'll be inviting somebody else from the team in a call to be set up with you that will arrange offline. How's that, Eugene?
Yeah. I think maybe guys from our math channel can join to this. No.
Maybe any hands from people? Niklas? I think that's a good idea. So
Yes, sure.
I'll invite you as well. And we'll have a look at your work. Yeah, looks great, man. Let's take it from there then.
Yeah, okay.
Please invite me as well. Thank you. I'd love to look at that.
And I'd be interested.
I'm seeing Peter's hand.
It does look good, yeah. Intriguing.
This is very quickly. I assume you'd have read the taxonomy of average machine learning from NIST that came out maybe 6 weeks ago. I think it already covers a lot of the definitions that I would encourage you to look at. Any other suggestion I'd also have is you could have a lot of model-specific problems attached. For example, a transformer model has very different problems from a convolutional network, for example, and the application usage. And I'm sure you're gonna fill out the other levels. So definitely want framework and compiler because I've seen quite a few of those problems in the last quarter or so.
Yeah, we analyzed it, certainly the paper of NIST, yeah, and integrated some information from it here.
Cool. So I'm writing down Evgenia, John, if I'm correct.
Yes, that's correct. And I'm also interested in kind of mapping. I think, we need to avoid creating Babel substandards. So let's find the consolidated form that kind of helps people rather confuse them.
Great.
Yeah, and at the end, it will be nice to create the paper, our paper, and publish it.
Nice. So how many people are you working with on this?
Three guys.
Wow, very helpful. Thanks for this update. We'll pick it up in this group that I just described. Looking forward to that. Which brings us to some updates by Susanna. I will share your slides, Susanna.
Awesome.
Here we go.
There's four. I am notorious for this at my work. I had a retro with 26 slides one time, and they came with pitchforks. So anyway, I've started trimming it down, and I'm going to go through this really, really quickly. Just wanted to update y'all. Federated learning section. I saw the note from Rob that says it's done right when I was going in to add 3 sources. So if these are unnecessary, that's totally fine. But these are 3 well-regarded, highly cited papers. I think the federated machine learning paper, probably everyone is right. It's got like 1,800 citations on Semantic Scholar alone. And all of these are freely available, so someone can just click on a link and find them online pretty easily. So I proposed adding those, and I still have some drawings, but I'm trying to make them look like the rest of the OWASP drawings. So I'll put those in when they're ready, unless, of course, that's not needed, in which case I will stop working on it forthwith. So that's slide number 1. If you could go to number 2, please.
Oh, working on the drawings sounds great. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. I'm trying to make them have the right color and shading. So bear with me a little. Once I get it, then it's good. So this is on the NIST gap analysis and sanity check. I want to stress that this is super early. I haven't gone through and really done any deep analysis on coverage yet, but I'm just going and matching and seeing what standards are there and kind of taking the perspective of, someone who's casually trying to look up things that they may have seen in one or the other. So as you know, the NIST AI taxonomy divides things broadly into predictive versus generative AI. So I've created 2 spreadsheets, one for each taxonomy. And I'm going to do sheets for the classifications, which are in sections 2.1 and 3.1 as well. But because they organize it a little bit differently, I'm looking at how to do that, and it might take a little bit more work, but I'm still thinking around that. I started with the attack types. And again, I'll circle back to the classifications. That's on my next list of things to do, or someone else is welcome to take that. Someone else is welcome to start working on Gen AI because I'm fixing to do that. If anybody else wants to take over, go ahead, and I'll go straight to the classifications. So I wanted to talk about a couple of areas. And again, I'm not saying that we have a lack of coverage here. I'm saying that a casual user may have difficulty finding and inferring what this means. So in privacy attack, if you search, and this is NIST 2.4, if you search for that in OWASP, it only comes up inside of governance. We have pretty good coverage and almost direct match for data reconstruction, membership inference, and model extraction. And again, I haven't done a deep dive and written up a comparison for these yet. That's next on the agenda. But I also noticed that they cover 2.2.4 property inference. I assume this is in there as well, but if you search for that, like if you're just a casual user who say saw that in the NIST standards and wants to see what OWASP says about that, you're not going to get any results back. So I thought I'd bring that to people's attention and see if that's something that warranted correction. But that's just kind of some preliminary thoughts that I have. Next steps on that are a deeper dive where I'm going to go through and say, okay, well, this is where you can find the coverage of that particular item, and so forth. And then I'll be doing a full write-up on that. And if you go to the next slide, I just wanted to, I didn't know if we were allowed to share our screen. So I made a screen cap of the spreadsheet that I'm working on, and this is actually from a few days ago. It's a little more filled out now, but just to give you an idea of the type of matching that I started doing. And then, you know, I've added notes in there for, you know, how I feel about these things as well. So I'm happy to share this with anybody that wants to collaborate and add to it. Just let me know, but this is kind of where I'm at with it. And I'm working on a data visualization. It's kind of a process flow diagram style mapping, just to help me get my head around it, which I'll share with everybody when I'm done with that as well. Okay. Oh, sorry. Any questions or comments?
Yes. So you were saying in this slide that the generative AI stuff, you know, that needs to be done after this. Is there somebody in the group who wants to join in Susanna's effort, looking at the NIST work, what they wrote down regarding generative AI threats and controls, and to see to do the gap analysis with the work in the exchange?
Yeah, I want to join. Yeah,
Okay.
it is interesting for me, and actually this is intersect with my goal to integrate this to our taxonomy.
Oh, fantastic. Yay. Okay. I will drop a link to that sheet and everything I have in the Slack channel then. And yeah, or however else people want to collaborate and contribute. That would be awesome. Thank you. And that will let me go to the classifications now, and then we can hurry up and get this done. Okay, tight. So last of all, back to the step-by-step guide. I haven't been in the group, but I believe I said I would work on the incident response plan. So what I've done is started looking at the NIST Computer Security Incident Handling Guide. And as I'm sure everybody in here is familiar, there's 4 steps: preparation, detection and analysis, containment, eradication, and recovery. And then, you know, your post-incident activity and debrief and so forth. So what I'm doing right now is thinking around how these change in an AI/ML environment. For example, in preparation, you know, how many organizations have any idea really what their full tech stack is, you know, with regards to all this and all of the dependencies that they may have in terms of their supply chain and so forth. So these are security issues that may be specific to AI/ML systems in production. And so this is what I wanted to start thinking around. If anyone else has any other ideas or suggestions, I'm totally open to that. This is where I'm at with it right now. Oh, and if someone else is doing this, don't let me duplicate your work. Happy to team up.
So indeed, it will be interesting to see what our niche group around the step-by-step guide is doing, or are you doing this as part of that effort, Susanna?
I think I was supposed to be doing this as part of that effort. I said I would last sprint. I just hadn't been doing anything in a group. So I apologize for that. If someone else is doing it, that's totally fine. I have no ego attachment, but I have been working on this for the last couple of weeks and have thoughts, if that's helpful.
All right, I need to review this slide at my leisure, given the time. How can we best help you with this material?
I guess I could post this in the Slack channel and people are welcome to comment on it. I don't feel like I really have much here yet. I've just been thinking, like, I have a little bit of an outline, but I'm happy to share that. I just understand that it's kind of rough. It's not anything very polished yet. And I'd love to have people's comments on it if there's another more appropriate way to do that. Oh, or the Google Doc, I guess, if that would be better.
Yeah, you can add it to the Google Doc or give it a place somewhere in there, refer people to it, and then they can make changes. There's a trick to that. If you add it and then create a table of content, the table of content will show hyperlinks to the sections, and that way you can share a hyperlink to a section in the Google Doc in the Slack channel. You know, it's a bit improvised, but it works. And otherwise, you simply copy paste the text in Slack, and people can respond whatever you prefer.
Oh, sorry, like make it with like a heading in the Google Doc so you can link to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Can do. Thank you.
Okay. So let's see, there are some things in the chat. Dennis, you asked whether things are purely focused on technical controls. I think that was about the conformity assessment. Yes, indeed. So it's about technical controls. Then Dennis, you also suggest to share the latest Turing Institute and CETA's AI security report published in March 24. Do you have hyperlinks to that, or do you have the documents, Dennis?
They just hosted kind of an overview of it earlier this week, and the report was shared to me from them. I asked them if I can share it with this group. They said no problem, it's open license. So I can drop it into our general author Slack channel. If people want to download and take a look, it's a lot of interesting findings that they have there. A lot of good resources that they mentioned.
You can also add it to GitHub and then link to it. Works. Yeah, okay. Both. Thanks a lot for Susanna. I think there was one more thing. Oh yeah, the what you mentioned, the property inference. That's a gap indeed. So it's also called attribute inference, and I recall us having it identified in the to-do list. But in any case, you're onto something here. That's a great outcome for us to pick up. About general updates. So we've onboarded Ewan Wiggins and Nina. Nina, who's in the call right now. I added Artem Semenov to the education guidance subteam. Now, this is a small team of people who are working on education guidance. They're not officially part of the authors. It's a sort of a separate thing, but these are people who want to learn more and have ideas on how to learn more. And I brought them together to work towards a study map or a study guide for people who say, well, I want to learn more about AI security. Where do I start? And then it can refer to some of the sections of the exchange, but also to some of the reference or a course or a video. And that's what they're working on. The liaison request to Sensenelec between OWASP and Sensenelec has been approved. I shared it in the Slack channel. It's a major milestone for OWASP to now be, at the table for European standardization. It starts with workgroup 5 right now, the one I am in. It has a lot of positive effects. It means that using the AI Exchange to feed into the AI Act doesn't require me. It can be anyone from OWASP to represent OWASP. It means that OWASP's content will be regarded as more authoritative, as OWASP is an official liaison to Sensenelec. And OWASP can extend this beyond AI security to any topic, for example, the Cyber Resilience Act, to see if people from OWASP project want to join in on that effort. Now, OWASP pays a small fee per year for each working group, but this positions us much better as AI Exchange to feed into other standards, including ISO standards, because Sensenelec has a gateway to ISO, through which we've contributed about 80 pages of AI Exchange material to the ISO standard on AI security. And this liaison partnership secures that relation, which is super cool, but it still requires a signature from the OWASP board, and I'm waiting for that, but I'm confident that we'll get it. So it's quite nice for us and for OWASP. Dennis shared a Turing report. I want to point people to that in the Slack channel. Aronice shared an AI4 conference link in Vegas, maybe for people to respond to the call for papers. Several contributions to the exchange. Segregate data has been updated. The layered poisoning threat model that we discussed earlier has been added. Various impact categories in the threat model have been added. The work by Rubens and Benas on transfer learning attack and much more stuff around generalization mainly has been added. I needed some time to get my head around it, but I managed and could integrate it. So thanks a lot for that great work. Talking about great work, Dennis's contribution and copyright has been integrated. Dennis, I know that you perhaps wanted to tweak some of it. Feel free to do that in either in Google Doc or in now currently the best thing to do is to do it in GitHub for you because it's now in GitHub and at OWASP AI. But it's a great addition, and I published it on LinkedIn. Got some good response. Nicholas just made an update on detect adversarial input. Glad to have you back from holiday for people to review. So I would like to invite you to go to the Slack channel and look at the link to Nicholas's contribution there. Several smaller tweaks. John is slowly coming back into leadership to the AI Exchange. I'm saying slowly because he's still quite busy with doing editorial work and follow up on the deadline for his book. But I'm looking forward to working together with John more. And another person who I like to work more with is Chris, again, who joined us today. I will show you his profile again and allow you, Chris, to perhaps introduce yourself and talk a little bit about who you are.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Chris Ancharski. I'm based out of Portland, Oregon. I've been working with cybersecurity leaders for the past decade and a half, building out various leadership communities. I launched the initial department at Evanta for CISOs back in the early 2010s, held various leadership positions with Gartner, founded the CyberEd board community for ISMG, and most recently was the director and founder of the Blue Lava community. My partner Laz and I stepped away a couple of weeks ago, so I'm doing a little advisory work with early stage startups with their go-to-market strategy and engagement strategies, and taking a little time off until I start to build out the next community. But when Sandy said that there was some work that needed to be done in the group and there were some ways that I could assist, I was happy to do so.
Wow, Chris, that's amazing. What does the AI Exchange offer you? I understood you're keen to learn more about AI and AI security. Is that correct?
That's 100%. You know, I'd love to say I've got the technical acumen of everyone on this call, but I don't. You know, I have trouble turning on my computer at times. So any chance I can take to learn from great leaders and learn more about emerging technology, I'm very eager to do so. And why not play a role in it as I learn and grow my professional abilities.
It's great to have you on board, Chris, and look forward to our call and getting more acquainted and see how we can boost things even more and work together. Any questions from anybody in the room to Chris at this stage?
I have something, not a question, but more of a request to Chris. So Chris, welcome to this group itself. So we have like a working group for promotion and marketing, and I think like having you as part of that thing would actually lend itself for more and more reaching new heights. So is it possible that I could add you to this particular group? And I can promise you a little bit of learning and insights also.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm very passionate about it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Great, Aronice. All right, then, because we're 5 minutes to the hour, let's move on with where we are right now. So this is the same slide as last call. We're working on 0.9, finish all the to-dos to move towards doing the review. We have 28 to-dos. So we've done quite some work, but really finishing them and striking them through, that hasn't happened since the last time. But I'm happy with the progress that we're making. So still stuff to do indeed. A lot on the math part, but there we have Nicholas joining again. So things are looking good. But I would like to take you through some of the attention points, which are Slack being our main communication channel. I'd like to invite you to visit it regularly. Just once in a while, if you have it muted, to see if there are any messages who are requesting your review, for example, to see if you can be of help in the topic that is close to your heart and to your expertise. Try to stay connected by looking at the Slack channel. I think the alternative would be for me to send more emails to notify people. I think that's a slippery slope. I think it's just good discipline to regularly check out the Slack channel to see if there are any notifications or requests that appeal to you. And if there are no more to-dos for you, which is currently happening, which is a good sign, many of the to-dos have been taken by people, then you can, and you have time, please put your name to the section or sections in the review table. That's the table below the to-do table in the Google Doc. It shows basically all the sections of the Exchange. And you can put your name to it, to the ones that you have the most expertise in, that you can then review. What review means is listed in that part of the Google document. It is basically a checklist of, does it have sufficient references? Does it need any visualization? Are there sufficient examples? Is it clear to this type of reader? And you can do all those checks. And if you think it's fine, you can strike it through. And we have done that review. Also, as an agreement, it's okay to be unavailable. We sometimes have very busy periods or vacations or whatever. If you have something assigned to your name, like a certain topic, and you're the only one, and then it's good to share that you're unavailable. So please let us know so we can, take that into account, bearing with you that, or assigning working with you to assign that work item to somebody else, perhaps in the meantime. So be open about being unavailable. It's perfectly fine, and the more transparent it is, the better we can do our work collectively. Which includes letting me know, and when Chris is installed and John is completely engaged again, reach out to Chris and John if you need anything or have impediments, or if we are slow in following up. So if you're not getting a response from me, and I promise to respond, something happened, I forgot about it. I'm only human. The same goes for anybody in this group, I hope. So if somebody's slow, just nudge them, remind them. We have a lot of distractions in our lives. We're all experts, so we have a lot of things to do, and just keep reminding each other of our commitments. And help make noise for the Exchange. So submit something to a conference, post on socials, join in on a call for papers. Share something great that you've observed, and refer to the AI Exchange as you do, just to get it more out there. And collectively, we can do that more than just one person. So given that we now have 2 more minutes and we're out of agenda points, anything that you guys want to bring up regarding your work item, any impediments, any help that you need from the group, or a question that you want to ask to the group?
Just a very quick point. We'll give an update to the next call. Then, Rob, we have now with the NIST, the AI Safety Consortium, as you know, we're members for that. Some of you have signed up on the Slack there. We are formulating the work packages and the kind of the new working groups. So if any of you didn't express any interest back then and you want to join, just ping me directly, and I'll make sure having a call with NIST tomorrow, and then we'll kind of try and finalize our participation. And I'll give an update.
You need more help from people, from experts to join in. Is that correct?
I think, you know, kind of covering the work, the work streams would benefit from more coverage, both at this group. But I'll tell you what, I will present next time, you know, next time, and next call, the work streams, and then, you know, we can discuss if anyone is interested and how they can help.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I haven't created sufficient time for it, John. Is it urgent?
Kind of, I didn't even say that I have to, so I just turn up. You know, the consortium is very slow going. It's large kind of effort, so it takes its time. I think it's just making it more visible and tapping into the expertise many of you have. For instance, you know, we're doing this excellent work on mapping the NIST adversarial taxonomy. Would be good, some of that to fit in there.
Yeah, I'd like to invite you indeed to elaborate a little bit more on this consortium and the different topics so people can join in, John, next time.
So that was just a kind of a passing note. I'll explain more in the next call.
Cool. All right. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This concludes our 7th meeting. I covered a lot of stuff. I liked it. I'm also a bit tired, so and I'm gonna have dinner and relax and wish you guys a great one, and see you on Slack.
You too, Rob.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Rob.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Appreciate
nice
it, guys.
day. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.